podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
WWE is becoming less like the Attitude Era and more like Office Space.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
TKO leaves Saudi Arabia with a nice fat $50 million paycheck. Did it really matter if Night of Champions was really that good? No. At the check, it was already cleared. So it didn't matter what they gave to the folks in Saudi Arabia on Saturday night. It didn't matter. We didn't get much of the pay-per-view itself, but, we'll talk a little bit about that. I did do a post show here, kingofpodcasts.com. I'm going to go ahead and find it. By the way, I did a little redesign of the website. I think it looks better. Again, I just want to keep it simple, keep it easy to go ahead and people find everything. So look, I make it simple. All my past episodes, you can click through the links, the logo's right there, and you can go right through. It looks clean now. Look, I just need it to be minimal. I don't need to go and go too much out of the way. So there, the site's there. It's easy to look on mobile, easy to look at on desktop. So there you go. You find the episodes, you go find what you want to listen to, you click on, and you go find the episodes. It'll be great. So please do that. kingofpodcasts.com. And also look for the donate button at the very top where you can go ahead and donate either through Cash App at King of All Podcasts, PayPal at King of Podcasts, or look for Buy Me a Coffee at King of Podcasts. There you go. All like that. It will be much appreciated. It's been tough this year. It's been tough this month. Let's just put it like that too. Moving along, this is episode 939, and we're going to talk about how WWE right now is in a very corporate mindset. TKO is absolutely, positively a corporate operation. Now, of course, it was like that before, but nothing like this. Because you're talking about people that are in the private equity business, in the investment business. Okay, we had this property. You remember a few weeks ago, I did a pretty expansive look at what was going on with the changes to the company as a corporate entity and how it is almost $3 billion in debt because of the incurrence of debt that they took on when they acquired the Ultimate Fighting Championships as part of Endeavor. And then they decided to go and put the two companies together. And because of the fact that WWE right now was carrying some of the load last year for TKO Group Holdings more than UFC does, well, now we get back into the point where it's still about 55% of the total revenues coming in. But then you have also other properties that TKO Group Holdings have bought onto and have brought into the fold, and they're going to continue to do so. But they're also going to just look at all their properties. They're going to figure out how can we make the most possible amount of money among all of them. And that's all that matters to them. As long as they can find a way, they will. That's all they care about. Let me go and play a clip back from episode 933. The TKO effect, WWE forced to cut veteran talent. I said this and made some remarks about the real gamut of what the corporatization of what TKO's made to WWE and what it means. Just one of the examples of what they do in this corporate environment that people are not happy about. I could have told you this a long time ago. I didn't know if there would be much that could be done that Hunter and the team there could have done. They might have been left to their own device, but it kind of is right now. Like, they are autonomous in themselves. They're not necessarily being directed by anything going on from TKO. But what they are doing is Triple H is being directed right now. We need to get some money cut out of the budget right now. We need to make cuts. And you, as the chief content officer, and you as this head of talent, you are in charge of making the decisions. You just need to know who it is that you think, your best judgment, who needs to go based on to make sure we cover what we need to cover. Whatever reason they want to do it. Because the other problem is that while Triple H has probably been able to go and bring in talent. I think he's been very responsible for bringing in types of talent that are coming in, with Mariah May and Ricky Starks and Stephanie Vaquer, Julia, and all these others that he's brought in. They're not going to just leave the roster bloated anymore. And I think now that friendly locker room environment, that players coach mentality that he had for all this time going into this, while things were okay, well, that's changed now. But there is something to be said about what has happened with that talent that has been brought in. Immediately, they have been brought into the forefront, okay? Because with every acquisition they've made, they're not even caring about trying to set up and prepare and plan an entrance or a debut for a star. They're just going to bring them into the fold because they don't have time to waste on it. Once the investment is made, this corporate company says you need to start using this talent. And once you're bringing in this new talent, you need to replace, you're going to need to make up the money of what that other talent is. We're not going to just spend money. We're going to make sure that we get the most out of our talent. We need to get them out there and working. So they need to be going out constantly getting something, and you need to go and start making something of them. Because what's happening is you're just seeing a constant influx of talent because of the way that the company has to go and try to keep interest. The Netflix philosophy, the Raw, the SmackDown philosophy, the premium live event philosophy we can see right now is they are bringing in new talent, new faces to get the pop, to get the interest, to get that crowd going, to get other people to go and talk about it. Because that's all we really do talk about is the fact that we have new stars coming in and they're not getting over. But they get something out of that initial response because of what they came in with. Otherwise, then they just go and drop into the ether. They just drop into mediocrity. They become non-relevant because there's no build on them. No build. So when I think about some of the stars they put in for AAA Worlds Collide, right? Julia, they just brought in now to take the United States Championship off of Zelina Vega. So now they gave her a belt. Stephanie Vaquer, have we even seen her since Worlds Collide? I'm trying to think, what have we done with her? Because I think after the Queen of the Ring, I don't know if we saw anything of her. I'm trying to think about that. And it doesn't really matter about who's winning or losing in some of these matches, too. It doesn't make a difference. But now we're at this point where we are at such a corporate level, and you can just feel that right here. When we have to go ahead and call on part-time talent because we need to do something to build up towards some of these events that are coming up in a week and a half. Saturday night's main event. Let's get Goldberg back. He gets to take on Gunther. What else do they have in the can? Ready to go. They don't. Saturday night's main event. We already know about Gunther and Goldberg, right? And then we have kind of an instant feud with Seth Rollins and LA Knight. Grudge match. We're just going to drop that in. Because they needed more matches to be put up. They have to fill up State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia for this event coming up on Saturday. At the same time, they also want to go ahead and set things up to go up and counter program AEW All in Texas. See, if this were Vince McMahon taking the card, I mean, I would think Triple H would want to go ahead and stack up the card here coming up, but we haven't got anything like that yet. They just finished Night of Champions. And I'm trying to think about, what are they going to do here? They got 2 matches set up for Saturday night's main event, and then what else? Then they got to set up Evolution. All women's pay-per-view. You not got Io Sky, Rhea Ripley. Fine. But there's nothing that makes me interested in that match coming up. The one thing I keep hearing about now with Evolution is AJ Lee might be returning. I don't know if it's for one night or what, but we're already hearing that too. And AJ Lee, of course, is kind of teasing that online. We got to go back to nostalgia again. This is no different than before. But this is desperation here. A bit of desperation. But what is, before we get into the meat of the matter of where this corporate mindset and all these changes for the sake of corporate to satisfy the corporate suits, What is it that the juvenile delusional fandom is more worried about? They're not talking about Night of Champions. They're not talking anything about it. They might be talking about Evolution and seeing if AJ Lee's going to be coming back. You know what they were talking about today? Britt Baker. Dr. Britt Baker of DMD, and the whole thought process that she's going to be moving over from AEW to WWE, right? That's the next thing they brought up. And this was brought up, oh my goodness, all day today I saw it. It got stirred up online. I don't know who brought it up, who got it all stirred up, but it started. And the first thing I'm trying to figure out is who was it even started the initial talk about this? I don't know. But nobody said anything about it. Nobody said a thing about it. And it wasn't until later in the day that Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful Select had to go ahead and debunk it through his sources. And I'm just trying to figure out, well, what are we doing here? Like, what's the whole story? So let's play back what Sean Ross Sapp is saying about what happened here when it comes to Dr. Britt Baker. Let's go ahead and play it back, because if everyone wants to make sure that they all believe that this is going to happen, it's because the juvenile delusional fandom wants it. But here's what Sean Ross Sapp said.
Jimmy, what I have heard was that people around her, this was news to her, news to them, and they had indicated like she would not make it a secret to us or anybody else if she wanted out of that company. And those we spoke to in AEW say they have not been told that she wants to leave. People that I talked to that saw her on the convention circuit recently, AEW talent, said it wasn't brought up to them. And she even told Sammy Guevara she'd see him soon. She hasn't been booked for StarCast. They have no idea if she's booked for Dallas for All In. I think she should be in the gauntlet personally, but she's got over a year left on her deal, Jimmy. And with the possibility of injury time, there's a chance she could be there till 2027.
So that's it. We don't need to hear any more about it. Whatever was being said, then it was also followed by PW Insider that says, well, there's no word on when Britt Baker will return. There have been no discussions about her exiting the company, asking for release, or being close to being contractually free. So the juvenile delusional fandom can try to stir up a rumor, try to make it so, and of course, those that want to see AEW go down, they will continue to do so. That's what it is. It's as if with AEW out there, in there, which is, again, the solid number 2 promotion in the company, in wrestling. That's all it is. But for whatever reason, that tribalism is so perfect for that fandom. When they're upset with the company, they're not upset at the company. They don't get upset with the company. They'll just go ahead and take their frustration out on somebody else. Because that's what they'll do. That's what's being done now. Another thing that came up that also stirred people up, AEW's growth in ratings. Now, I will say this with Tony Khan, is that whoever put this out for AEW, they put out a graphic that said that the ratings have gone up in all various demographics, up 7% among ages 50 plus. Let me go ahead and make sure to get all this right here. Let's see, for Dynamite, they got persons 2 and up, right? So all persons, they're up 7%. The target demographic of adults 25 to 54 years old, for Dynamite, up 8%. For Collision, it's gone up 28% for persons 25 to 54. And for all persons, up 25%. Now, the reason I can say that is because there was a downtime at the end of last year during negotiations for AEW to get this set up, which I'm saying that Tony Khan was not focused on the storylines. He was not focused on booking. Someone else was handling the booking. And you could tell it was. You could tell that the veterans were getting a chance to go and run the gamut, because it was Edge and Chris all across the board, Hurt Business getting up there and getting initially started up. And then you saw the change. FTR takes Edge out of the picture. You move him off of an injury angle. Then you have Hurt Syndicate now, including with MJF, who's now coming out of MVP's gear. I thought that was very class. That was pretty cool. A nice little throwback to MVP. I thought that looked really good. That was pretty cool. But now, those stats right here, everybody's all like, oh, look what that meant, you know? And of course, we don't know. Now, the This is average U.S. linear viewers live and same day. And that means so live and the first day of on demand, that's what they got. And then on top of that, we don't know what their ratings are on Max. We have no clue what the numbers are. The streaming numbers have not been disclosed. Someone wanted to say 500,000 a while back. The same people that said Britt Baker's leaving AEW. Right. So don't believe all that right there. I do believe that the Max numbers are probably up a little bit because I think what's happening is the audience that Dynamite had last year, which was around 750, 800,000. Yeah, I think some of those people dropped off and they took to streaming because it is much easier to go and catch it on demand whenever you want. Max is a pretty good platform. And it's going to be HBO Max, but let's just make that point. That's out there. It's good. Can't complain about that. And if there is any criticism of WWE from Night of Champions that got brought up at all, was CM Punk. Brandon Thurston, who works at WrestleNomics, obviously that's his website, but he wrote an op-ed piece in postwrestling.com with John Pollock and Wei Ting, their site, and he did an op-ed up there and said that a stirring moment of humility and courage that CM Punk rose to the occasion, not just to perform, but to reflect. WWE executives, but also no doubt Saudi princes, were somewhere watching, and he reached into the past and produced something that must be recognized, even if it's something increasingly common in modern life. He bravely put aside his values in exchange for money and power. So after the event, after Punk lost to John Cena Night of Champions, Triple H made comments in the post-press conference, quote, "I was privileged to watch Punk grow as a human being, to step out here and apologize to the people of Saudi, to just cherish where he is at in life and his career and the things he gets to do and the opportunities that he has." Corporate. Absolutely corporate. You know, first of all, if he did not have this corporate company to go into with TKO, if they didn't want to go and get him on board and bring him in, Vince would never brought him back. I'm really positive on that. So Punk comes in, and he has to go ahead and bite the bullet here. This is him towing the company line. It's towing the company line. He apologized to The Miz, to the fans, a guy in a SmackDown cabin to all Saudi Arabia during the events leading up to Night of Champions. And there's much more where Punk has been very activist politically, which is fine. But all that goes away because of the fact that he had to go ahead and do this. And Brandon Thurston got castigated today about all this. He also writes, "Contradicting your values is, after all, rite of passage in professional wrestling that Punk has often resisted." CM Punk, formerly skeptical, now gets it. He has seen the generosity, the hospitality, and the opportunity. He responded with gratitude. Even TKO CEO Ari Emanuel has also talked about the fact that how the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is not perfect. We've heard the criticism, okay? But Ari Emanuel explained when he discovered his affinity for the monarchy's wealth, all governments do bad things. Western narratives sometimes whisper of detainments, of punishment for online criticism, tweets in particular, but these stories are always unfair. Punk understands this. His contrition, which was offered freely and authentically in the spirit of punk rock, was genuine, but it was also wise. There's a lot more that was said about this, but you know what? It's what he had to do. Phil's going to be able to work out there. I mean, look, everybody's going to have to go and work. Sami Zayn for a while had his issues, but you know what? He's out there with a kafaya, and he went and fought Karrion Kross, and he won. It was a hometown favorite, basically, how it worked out. And that's it. It's just the way things are. But man, that Brandon Thurston gets some blast for this, man. I can imagine the creative. So I did get some comments on my TikTok feed about what was going on with Night of Champions in the post show, and I got a couple of comments I want to bring up from there. King Ralpheus 52 says, "I didn't hate it. You have too much really going on in all these stories. You can't have Punk win, but you made him look like he really won the match. It worked." This is about John Cena's John Cena's win over CM Punk. Next, only good part was Charles Robinson coming out only to be blasted by Cena. Another is Paul Lewis. Oh, that was Hannah's family, by the way. Paul Lewis Giacomo, excuse me. So Cody won't be winning the belt at SummerSlam? Why bury Karrion Kross? And then somebody asked me about what great ideas did I have for CM Punk, which I said, well, refer back to my show past Wednesday. He said, I'm not doing that. Okay, fine. And as for last week's show, I did get a couple comments from the YouTube channel. James Batten 9854 says the Cena heel turn is dead. It's not even worth critiquing anymore. And the Black Bolt 5514 says that I think that Cena's promo had more truth to it than in Punk's. I think the original pipe bomb is very overrated. There you go. Wanted to go ahead and include those into the mix. Now, let me move on to the corporatization. And this is one thing that gets brought in here that I was listening to another podcast. Well, at least, one of the voices of reason that I've caught on that, I don't want to go ahead and make the submission and the admission of saying, sometimes he just gets it right. Well, Vince Russo was on the Coach and Bro show on Monday, and he said this.
There's a lack of creativity. And again, this is not a knock on Triple H. We all can't be good at everything. Triple H is not a creative guy. Great wrestler, can book for himself. He is not a creative guy when it comes to the rest of the roster. So here's the card the ace in our back pocket. Mm-hmm. We just keep putting new people on the show to keep getting new pops. So you're going to see, Perez, you're going to see Jillian, you're going to see Vacure, you're going to see them bring Aleister Black in at the same time you bring in Rusev. Then we're going to see Fatu, then we're going to see Mateo, then we're going to see this guy this week. Coach, they keep bringing in so much talent on a weekly basis. You're never going to get anybody over that way, Coach, because nobody's special.
Now, we'll move on to more of that, but it has to be by choice. I don't think there is anyone right now in that outfit, in WWE Creative, that is able to go ahead and put any real creative beside because of how the show's being operated, how it's expected to be operated. When you look at the core of what corporate influence does, I will say this over and over. It goes with any media source you go with. Creativity is stifled. Creativity is put into a chokehold under a corporate outfit. So TKO Group Holdings, they have different things that go up. Corporate influence chokes out creativity. They're worried about profit-driven decisions and risk aversion. So Triple H works best for this corporate environment. To have Vince McMahon at the helm still overseeing was not going to work for TKO. More than happy to buy him out. So when they brought him in, they put him as a chairperson, but didn't bring him into the company because of the way things was set up. So it was going to be Triple H running the show, who was already kind of already set up in there because when TKO's deal was getting set up, they wanted to work with Triple H because that's what they're going to go with. And for Nick Khan, I think it works for him because Triple H will follow along and be the corporate suit and do what he has to do. Because look, they're putting a lot of work on him. I mean, he has to go and promote all these things. He's now the narrator for Unreal for Netflix, the new creative documentary series thing that they got coming up. They got him in a lot of things. He's not sitting behind the scenes too much doing more besides being in the gorilla position. I mean, I don't know if he has much say in what he's doing. So they're going to prioritize, they're supposed to be prioritizing storylines and characters that resonate with the broadest audience possible. But they're not. There's nothing of a storyline or any real characters they have because there are no characters. We have factions. I guess those are characteristics. Judgment Day doesn't make any sense. New Day doesn't make any sense down to the current day. American Made, not much of a thing anyway. Alpha Academy, like all these factions, they're supposed to be some kind of a characteristics to them, but there's not. Legado del Fantasma means nothing. LWO means nothing. Think about all these different factions we have that don't mean anything. The Bloodline does because it is a characteristic of the Samoan dynasty, but even that is missing. Like there's no playing up into these factions. There's no playing up into these characters that are coming in because everybody's just coming in on their wrestling acumen. And the only characteristics that will distinguish, that will make any wrestler stand out is the look. That's it. So for the women, it's a bit easier because it's an attraction thing. It's an appeal. So when Julia comes out here, or Stephanie Vaquer comes out here, and they look like cosplay characters, don't get me wrong, we're all into it. We got a lot of guys that are simping out to them. I understand why. I agree with you, but I'm not going to go that far with that either which way, right? Liv Morgan kind of gives that kind of cosplay feel to it. So there's some of that there that people really like. Great. Same thing with Asuka, same thing with Kairi Sane, same thing with Io Sky, all of that. Which is why some of the other stars we're seeing are kind of being put to the backside. They're just not even being considered right now. I mean, Charlotte Flair, that's so different than what it was. They don't want to worry about the Queen. They want something else. This crowd is in a much different standpoint of what they want to have. That's just all there is to it. As we said, we're not getting Attitude Era. We're not getting a change to the ratings, right? Everybody was all thinking about all these dreams and aspirations that the company was going to go back to Attitude Era once they got to Netflix, because they're going to be somewhere where they can go ahead and not worry about content. They can be as adult as they want. Well, they didn't do that. That was a lie. That was probably predetermined by the juvenile delusional fandom. You guys had delusions of grandeur, and they have all disappeared. All those delusions of grandeur that you had prior to Netflix, yeah, it was a pipe dream. You put it in your head, you thought it was going to happen, and it didn't. How do you feel about that? You can thank the corporate suits at WWE for not wanting to go that route. They could have listened to you, but they don't. Even Nick Khan says, oh no, we don't listen to those people. You don't need to listen to them. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are certain stars that probably have something more they want to do with themselves in terms of if they have good ideas to work off of, and if they're going to get a chance to do that. WWE's formula now for production is very much cut and dry. There is nothing special about the production. Remember everybody talking about the production? Oh, look, here's the drone shot. And oh, look, here's this one long camera shot going around the ring. Where's all that, man? We don't even hear about that anymore. That's also gone. No, what we see right now, what's the big change that we see now? All the sponsorships and everything they have. That plastered ring that looks, I mean, look, boxing was one thing to have all the advertisements they have on their rings, but this right here is ridiculous. Everything right now is standardized and homogenized. Listen, it's easy to go and say that what WWE is doing right now, it feels like what McDonald's would be. It feels like what Walmart would be. Big, huge, there's nothing quality about it. It's just quantity. Because that's what they're giving you right now. A lot of quantity. Look at what they're doing right now for this coming weekend on July 11th to 13th. Great American Bash, Saturday Night's Main Event, Evolution, and a Raw and SmackDown in between. Chock full, and NXT. Chock full in 6 days. It's a lot. So they just have to fill programming with it. It's like a bunch of empty calories. Is anything going to be memorable? No. It's like music today. We get so much quantity. We have so much mass consumption of so much content that comes out there, but all the content has no quality to it. It's disposable. It's forgettable. When I think about the fact of, if you wanted to go and tell anybody what's going on with any of the shows, whether Raw or SmackDown, it's pretty easy to go and tell. The same matches every week for the pay-per-view coming up, but there's nothing different to them. There are no promos or things like that that lead up to anything. Except for maybe the very top line feud, which was Cena and Punk this last month, of which we had a few things come out of that where it was the reverse pipe bomb and Punkonomics. Other than that, that's about as creative as you're going to get. That's about as thinking outside of the box as you're going to get too. Because they had to go and do something to make the main event feel somewhat special or different than the other matches. The other thing too is that it's always what happens. Once a star goes into WWE, right? No matter what their credibility is outside of the company coming in, it gets diminished. It gets homogenized. It just goes and becomes generic. Think of some of the stars we've had. Immediately, Aleister Black, whatever luster that he had, okay, you want him to be, you don't like the House of Black over in AEW? Fine. But look what's going on right now. Is he even memorable right now? What are we doing with him? Penta and Ray Phoenix. So quickly we thought about, oh man, these guys are coming in here. What happened to them? Nothing. They've kind of just been thrown into the ether, and they're not important anymore now either. Jade Cargill being around here for over a year, and I still haven't seen anything that makes me feel like she's so special like she was in AEW. I just don't see it. And then look at some of the stars they brought into NXT. Mariah Monroe or Blake Monroe. Okay, she's got a little thing right now with Fatal Influence and they're setting up things there, but like all that pomp and circumstance for her that everybody was talking about leading her in. Same thing with Ricky Saints. And then what? We just don't hear much. By the way, the NXT ratings went down this week. Did you know about that? 627,000. It went down, what? Almost 100,000 viewers. And it wasn't like they didn't have any star power of what they would have had a star power. The one contenders match for the NXT title. Joe Henry from TNA was in there. Mike Santana from TNA was in there. TNA World Champion Trick Williams was on commentary. The D'Angelo family, they had that storyline going on with one of the members leaving to go on his own and not join anybody else, not join Stax Lorenzo, right? And Blake Monroe, her return, helping out Jordan Grace, who was being attacked by Fatal Influence. So you had that. But the other problem is that you're seeing this where if you had other sporting events that were going on that were going to go ahead and take down NXT's run, getting over 700,000 viewers. It was not that long ago. We had the NBA playoffs. We had Stanley Cup finals, all that 2 weeks ago. And look at this. The show's audience also grew. It started at 600,000 and then did go up in the final half hour. But what was the competition they had? Repeats on network. America's Got Talent on NBC. A Major League Baseball game. That's it. That's all you had. So something's going on with there. If that's taking a drop, we know that we don't get much of the word of the ratings on Raw, SmackDown, right? And of course we could say, oh, well, it's not going to be that big a deal because of the fact that they had shows taped because they were out there in Saudi Arabia. Got it. 1.45 million viewers for SmackDown. Go home the Night of Champions. And by the way, the ratings for SmackDown year to year are down 34%. So everybody wants to go ahead and get in and caught up on this. Just telling you, you have to go ahead and figure out what the problem is. Okay? And there's justifiability on some of the things that's being said. So just saying. The sponsor integration is a big thing right now that you're seeing. Look at how many sponsors they got in the ring. I mean, it's just Slim Jim tables. That's just an abomination. I mean, I get it. Slim Jim's paying a lot of money for it. But it's also behind the fact that the company is taking on so much of the sponsorships because they got to go and cover the debt. They have to make up the money. So they're going to go ahead and milk the WWE as dry as they can. By the way, their ticket prices are also going crazy once again. Like their ticket prices are also sky high right now. People are really complaining about that too, right? So I didn't talk about this story, but last month there was talk about how the inflated ticket prices are here now. And it's just the way it is. So Mark Shapiro, the TKO Group chief, actually mentioned about this. He says that there were major cuts made to the live event schedule and that also with ticket prices, they have a tremendous upside. Quote, we cut those house shows down to where we're doing 200 events a year, cut them 75%, the number of house shows we do, and that's a good place to be. We'll continue to prune as we go through, but there's a tremendous upside on global partnerships, tremendous upside on ticket pricing, tremendous upside on site fees, dynamic pricing, yield management. All areas we're really focusing on and pushing in on as related to live events. Margins significantly expanded as it relates to live events. Yeah. They milk off of WrestleMania and all these other events they're going to have. And look, why bother taking the Royal Rumble to some other city to try to build that up? Well, you can just go and take that show and get a nice, quick, fast $50 million out of Saudi Arabia, which, by the way, the story is now that WWE is planning to go 3 times next year to Saudi Arabia. $150 million. Who's going to say no to that? They need the money. And I don't think they care about what the audience thinks right now at all. They just don't. They're more than happy to go and take the Saudi princess money. More than happy. And what's unfortunate right now is if anybody wants to come to WWE right now as a free agent, I just want to bring this up. Of the names that I brought up earlier that have come into the company, are you telling me there are going to be a lot of people that also feel the same way about what's happening here? Like, do they honestly feel like you're getting a tremendous upside by leaving? I mean, are you going to get that much of a contract? Because what we're hearing more and more of the stars that have been coming into the company is because their dream was to work in WWE, no matter what. That's what they wanted to go and do. And that's fine. But what we're seeing right now more and more is that some of these stars that are making the train over, I don't know if they're getting any benefit from it. I mean, part of it is could be very well if Tony Khan wasn't able to go and work with what he needed to get from them for some of these stars anyway. I mean, look, with Mariah May, he got a great run out of her. Also, what a finish with the Hollywood ending with her and Thomas Tony Storm. So you would have to go and figure out what's next for her. But if she wanted to go and find her way out, she did. Same thing going with, but then you look at the other side, and I see some of the stars we have over. Oh, and then everybody wants to go and complain about what other stars and what they're doing that are former WWE stars, because it's like, oh, we're just going to go and like start commenting about them and start making claims about them because they should go ahead and just find their way back. Like, it's like you're trying to guilt some of these AEW stars that left from WWE to go to AEW just to get them to go back. Like that whole thing that in the WCW days and the Monday Night Wars is the same thing that happened back then. It would be a guilt-trodden thing by this juvenile delusional fandom to get certain stars to go back. So yeah, let's get Ember Moon or let's get her back over Athena. Let's go and get her back over to WWE just because we need to do that. Is there any real reason for it? No, but let's just get her back. Adam Cole. Oh, he's not doing anything with Paragon. We should get him back. Let's get Undisputed Era back. It's like this fandom wants to go back and try to relive the NXT days, so let's just go after some of those NXT stars. But then the other thing, too, is that this whole thought process of like, oh, well, the AEW stars are not doing well over there. Let's just bring them over here. They'll do much better in WWE, right? It's always that kind of mindset. But they're not willing to go ahead and live with the reality that this is not the same WWE anymore. This is not the Attitude Era. This is not the Ruthless Aggression Era. This is not any of that. This is not the WWE that Vince McMahon created. It has turned into something more corporate, much more than ever. It's like a company that was like a big mom and pop that goes around the country and does really well. But then once a big corporate company comes in, they're just going to keep things to make it look like it's the veneer of the WWE, but it's going to be something different. It will be a shell of itself because that's what it is right now. But as I've always said, I look at the other companies and worry about them because I want to be concerned about what they're doing to give us something more, because I don't want to be concerned about what they're going to be doing. Like WWE is not the end all be all, which is why we want other events going on that'll be doing something more. And for me, look, AEW right now has been doing good for me. We're all in. They're going to get about, so far, 19,000 fans that are going to be lining up to Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, home of the Texas Rangers. They're going to have that event. And they got a big card coming up. They just had the 300th episode of Dynamite. They got the 100th episode of Collision coming up now. They're all set up. We got a lot of great matches set up. They have finalized the Jon Moxley, Hangman Adam Page Men's Championship, the AEW World Title, as a Texas Death Match. That'll be good. It's, I just only a straight up match for these guys. Death match will be it. So Jon Moxley, that's absolutely in his wheel well. Hangman Adam Page, they set up things good with him doing a buckshot Larry on Marina Shafir. That was a good setup. I caught the back end of that. The Tony Storm Mercedes Renee stuff has been good so far. I've enjoyed that very much. That's a match that's really worth looking forward to. Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada for the combined AEW International Championship and the Continental title to bring them in as a unified champion, whoever that's going to be. Already know that Mark Briscoe and MJF are in the men's Casino Gauntlet match, which is obviously to get a world title shot. So MJF's trying to get into that. Now they got the whole kosher pickle thing going on, which is pretty funny. Mark Briscoe just doing it right. And that's been good stuff so far. Chris Statler is already the first entrant into the Casino Gauntlet match for the women. Who knows? Britt Baker might just actually make an appearance at the Casino Gauntlet. Who knows? But all those are going to be set up matches so far. That's That's quite a bit they already got so far. We'll see what else they got coming up for All In. But that's a pretty good setup so far. 3 title matches, big title matches, which they're going to have some long ones in here. Because, I mean, Moxley and Page will be a long match. I don't know how long they'll go, but they're going to have to go long on that. Omega and Okada, that'll be a long one as well for what's worth and what's going to be in it. And the Gauntlet match is going to be mattering something. There's going to be something obviously very interesting about those. Then you also got AEW World Tag Team titles with the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin against Jet Speeds, Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey. They're doing things right now. They've been working on that. And then Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland versus the Young Bucks. They've had that set up where the Young Bucks are stripped of their EVP titles if they lose. And double stipulation, which is how it should be. There should be consequences for the match. The other one you have is Strickland and Ospreay are unable to challenge for the AEW World Championship for a year if they lose on their side. So a lot to be lost in that. Wonderful. And I like what they got so far. I think the setup with the storylines have been good. I'm enjoying it. Everybody else is going to go on and talk about their own things about it, how they feel about it. But you know what? I'm content. MJF showing up at... MJF showed up as some of the beasts. And that was at, New York City, I think it was? Which was good because he was going after Mystico and continuing that feud, which was really great. I love that. And we'll see more of it. I was really surprised to go and see that. Really enjoyed that part to see MJF coming out. All of a sudden, coming back to MLW of all places. I never thought I was going to see that again, but I love that they put that together. And I love that Court Bauer decided to go and bring him back into this feud just to have this year. Even if it's just a one-off, just to have this match in MLW is a great thing to have, right? So next week, we'll go and talk about previewing predictions for All In. We'll see how that works out. And Tony Khan has been very vocal right now leading up to All In. He's been talking about a few things. So he did make some points about the feedback he gets from AEW fans. When talking about the 6-year lifespan of the promotion, they've gotten a lot of praise and criticism. So he said with TMZ Sports, the constant flow of feedback and how he's able to tune it out and focus on the task at hand. He said this, quote, "They do influence it. The fans are a huge, major influence on me personally and on AEW. I really believe in listening to the fans, and the fans have been so positive about AEW in 2025. It feels good when the feedback is so positive, and right now, the conversation around AEW is very positive. I think it's the most positive it's been in 4 years, and maybe ever. We're having great trends right now. We've been able to grow the viewership quarter over quarter, multiple quarters in a row. I explain why. Fan feedback is really positive. It feels good. I want to keep that going. It feels like people really like what's happening in AEW this year. Conversation's been really good. I like hearing what the fans have to say, positive or any kind of feedback, especially if it's constructive or anything you can use to make AEW better. That's good for us." I just think for him, it was a matter of just getting things back on track for him. He got his broadcast deal, got it all set up, and just go from there. But again, what will be the next thing that comes up that will get the juvenile delusional fandom to go and start bashing on AEW? Because that's all they have. Because they don't want to live with the reality of what's going on right now within the company, that it's struggling right now, that they are internally, I know they're not happy with the direction of the company. This is not what they wanted. There are a lot of things that aren't coming out the way they had planned. Let's just make that clear. We know that. I can see it. So what are you going to do about it? It's time for this juvenile delusional fandom to start paying attention to WWE and realize the corporatization of what TKO Group Holdings is doing right now is stifling and holding back talent and holding back storylines, which is what professional wrestling still needs today. Anyway, come back next week for the Wrestling Gets Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.